What if the person who irritates you most is actually your greatest teacher, not your therapist, not your mentor, not the people who love and support you, but that person who makes your blood boil, the one whose voice alone triggers something visceral in your chest, the enemy you can't stop thinking about. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and rage floods through your body. Your hands grip the steering wheel, your jaw clenches. For the next 5 minutes, you can't let it go. Or that coworker, the one who pushes every single button you have. Everything they do irritates you, the way they talk, the way they laugh. Even the way they breathe seems designed to make you suffer. Here's what you don't know. They're not your problem, they're your mirror. I discovered something that shatters everything we believe about self-knowledge. We think we find ourselves through love, through acceptance, through the people who validate us and tell us we're wonderful. But I'm telling you the opposite. You meet your soul in the people you can't stand, in your enemies, in the ones who trigger you, who disturb your peace, who you wish would just disappear. Today, we're going into one of psychology's most uncomfortable truths. And I'm warning you now, this will change how you see every person who's ever irritated you, because that enemy, they're holding up a mirror. And what you see in it might be the most important thing you ever learn about yourself. I called it the shadow. And it's not what you think. The shadow is everything about yourself that you've pushed into the basement of your mind. It's the parts of you that don't fit the story you tell yourself about who you are. The traits you've buried, the desires you've denied, the impulses you've learned to hide. And here's what most people don't understand. The shadow isn't just your dark side. Yes, it contains the parts you're ashamed of, your selfishness, your rage, your cruelty, but it also holds your buried gold, your unexpressed creativity, your authentic power, your wild, untamed potential. Think about how this shadow forms. When you were a child, you arrived in this world complete, whole. You had every human quality within you: aggression and tenderness, confidence and humility, selfishness and generosity. But your parents, your teachers, your society, they didn't want all of you. They wanted the acceptable parts, so you learned quickly. Stop being so loud. Don't be selfish. Don't show off. Don't be weak. Don't ask so many questions. One by one, you took the unacceptable parts of yourself and locked them away. You created what I called the persona, your social mask, your public face, the version of yourself that gets approval, that fits in, that seems acceptable to the world. But here's the thing about shadows. The brighter you polish that persona, the darker the shadow it casts behind you. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with the people who irritate you? Everything. Because the shadow doesn't just disappear when you bury it, it leaks out. And the primary way it escapes is through something I called projection. This is where your enemies come in, and this is where everything changes. When you encounter someone who triggers you, someone whose behavior makes you angry, disgusted, or inexplicably uncomfortable, something profound is happening beneath the surface. You're not just reacting to them, you're reacting to the disowned parts of yourself that you see reflected in them. I put it simply. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Let me give you an example. Say someone's arrogance drives you crazy. You can't stand how they dominate conversations, how they need to be the center of attention. Your chest tightens every time they walk into a room. But here's the hidden truth. If arrogance wasn't somewhere within you, if you hadn't buried your own need for recognition, your own desire to be seen, their behavior wouldn't touch you so deeply. It would be neutral. You'd notice it and move on. Instead, it hooks you, it haunts you, it occupies your thoughts. Why? Because they're expressing something you've forbidden yourself to express. They're living out a part of your shadow. The same pattern repeats everywhere. You hate manipulation. You've likely repressed your own strategic intelligence. You despise weakness. You've probably denied your own vulnerability. You can't tolerate selfishness. You've sacrificed your own needs to the point of self-betrayal. Your enemies aren't random, they're specific. They're showing you exactly what you've hidden from yourself. and that's precisely why they're so valuable. Now, let's talk about love, because this is where my insight becomes even more radical. We've been taught that love reveals us, that in the eyes of someone who loves us, we see ourselves clearly, that through acceptance and validation, we discover who we really are. But I saw through this beautiful illusion. Lovers, I realized, often see us through rose-colored glasses. They fall in love with our persona, our polished, acceptable self. They reflect back to us the idealized image we want to believe in. And in that warm glow of acceptance, we feel seen, we feel known, but are we really? The comfort of being loved is also its limitation. When someone loves us, they validate our story about ourselves. They confirm that the mask we wear is who we actually are. They rarely push us to look at what lies beneath. This is what I called projecting our gold. In love, especially romantic love, we project our own unrealized potential onto the other person. We see them as complete, as perfect, as having all the qualities we haven't yet developed in ourselves. We fall in love not with them, but with our own hidden wholeness reflected back through them. And so we remain unconscious, comfortable perhaps, validated certainly, but not whole. The honeymoon phase always ends, and when it does, it's not because love has failed, it's because the shadow can't stay buried forever. Eventually, the parts of ourselves we've denied begin to emerge. The parts of our partner we've idealized begin to show their humanness. This is when real relationship begins, or when it ends, if neither person is willing to face what emerges from the depths. But here's what matters for our journey today. Relationships built on comfort and validation rarely push us toward our soul. They keep us on the surface, swimming in the warm waters of acceptance. Your enemies, however, drag you into the deep. So what exactly are your enemies teaching you? Let's go deeper into this mirror they're holding up. When someone triggers a strong negative reaction in you, they're not just annoying you, they're activating shadow material that you've spent years, maybe decades, trying to keep unconscious. They're touching something raw, something you've convinced yourself doesn't exist within you. And your reaction, the intensity of it, that's your clue. That's your soul trying to get your attention. Think about the last time someone really got under your skin. Not just a mild irritation, but that visceral response where your whole body reacted. Your heart raced, your thoughts spiraled. You couldn't let it go. That intensity is disproportionate. And that's precisely the point. If you were simply observing another person's behavior, you'd have a thought about it and move on. But when you're encountering your own shadow projected onto another person, you can't move on. You're hooked. You're caught. Because unconsciously, you recognize yourself. I expressed this with what I hope is clarity in one of my writings. I asked, what if I should discover that the least among them all, the poorest of all beggars, the most impudent of all offenders, the very enemy himself, that these are within me, and that I myself stand in need of the alms of my own kindness, that I myself am the enemy who must be loved. This is the gateway to the soul. This is where my psychology becomes something more than theory. It becomes a path to wholeness. Now we go to something I called individuation. Individuation is the process of becoming whole by integrating all parts of yourself. Not just the acceptable parts, not just the parts that get approval, all of it, the light and the shadow, the strength and the weakness, the beauty and the ugliness. And here's what I discovered. The shadow contains approximately 90% pure gold. Think about that. Think about all the energy you've spent pushing parts of yourself away, all the mental effort spent maintaining the illusion that those parts don't exist. And what you're pushing away is mostly treasure. Your repressed anger might actually be your healthy boundaries. Your buried arrogance might be your authentic confidence. Your denied selfishness might be your capacity for self-care. Your hidden cruelty might contain your ability to face hard truths and make difficult decisions. But you'll never access this gold as long as you keep projecting it onto your enemies. This is why your enemies are more valuable than your lovers in the search for your soul. Lovers let you stay comfortable in your persona. Enemies force you to confront what lies beneath. When that co-worker irritates you, they're not the problem, they're the messenger. When that family member pushes your buttons, they're not torturing you. They're showing you where you're not yet whole. Meeting your soul means meeting your completeness. And you can't be complete if you're still denying half of who you are. So how do we actually do this? How do we use our enemies as teachers instead of treating them as obstacles? I call this shadow work. And it begins with something simple, but not easy: recognition. The first step is to notice your triggers, not to judge them, not to explain them away, but simply to notice them. Who irritates you? What behaviors hook you? When do you have reactions that seem disproportionate to what's actually happening? Keep a trigger journal for a week. Write down every time someone gets under your skin. Don't filter it. Don't make it noble, just notice. Then comes the harder part: reflection. For each trigger, ask yourself, what quality in this person am I rejecting in myself? Where have I buried this same trait? What would happen if I admitted that this quality exists within me? This is uncomfortable. Your ego will resist. It will tell you that you're nothing like that person, that the comparison is absurd, that they're genuinely terrible, and you're justified in your reaction. Thank your ego for its protection and ask the question anyway, because here's what happens when you do this honestly. You start to see patterns. You realize that the same traits trigger you across different people. You begin to recognize that your reactions say more about your inner landscape than about the people around you. And then comes integration. Integration doesn't mean acting out every repressed impulse. It means acknowledging that the trait exists within you and finding a conscious, healthy way to express it. If you've buried your anger, integration means learning to set boundaries. If you've hidden your ambition, integration means allowing yourself to want things, to pursue goals without shame. If you've denied your need for attention, integration means letting yourself be seen without apologizing for taking up space. The transformation that follows is profound. When you own your shadow, your enemies lose their power over you. They're no longer hooks that snag your peace of mind. They're just people, displaying the full range of human qualities as you do. You become more authentic because you're no longer maintaining an elaborate fiction about who you are. You become more grounded because you're standing on the foundation of your wholeness, not the shaky ground of your persona. Your relationships deepen, not because everyone suddenly loves you more, but because you stop projecting. You see people as they actually are, not as screens for your unconscious material. And here's the beautiful paradox: your enemies become teachers. Some may even become friends once you've reclaimed what you projected onto them. Others may remain difficult people, but they no longer occupy your mind rent-free. Either way, you're free. I said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the path. Not transcending your humanity, but embracing all of it. Not becoming perfect, but becoming whole. We've actually been searching for ourselves in all the wrong places. We look for our souls in the eyes of people who love us, who validate us, who tell us we're exactly who we think we are. And while there's beauty in that, there's no revelation. I understood what most of us spend our whole lives avoiding. Your soul isn't in the comfortable places. It's not in the validation and the approval. It's in the totality of who you are, including the parts you've been running from. Your lovers show you who you want to be. Your enemies show you who you actually are. And the path to wholeness, the path to meeting your soul, requires embracing both. This is my revolutionary insight. This is what separates my psychology from simple self-help. I'm not telling you to become a better version of yourself. I'm telling you to become a complete version of yourself. That completeness includes your shadow. It includes the traits you've denied, the qualities you've projected onto others, the gold you've been too afraid to claim. So, here's your assignment, if you're brave enough to take it. Who irritated you today? What quality in them made your stomach tighten or your jaw clench? Don't dismiss it. Don't explain it away. Ask yourself, what are they showing me about myself? Because that person, that enemy, might be the most important teacher you'll meet today. Your soul is waiting. Not in the light of approval, but in the darkness you've been avoiding. Not in the comfort of validation, but in the uncomfortable truth of your totality. I knew this, I lived it, and I left you the map. The question now is, are you ready to follow it?